The castle had come back to life. Wood was fixed. Stones were stacked. Bloodstains were scrubbed away, though not from memory. 3 days had passed since the battle. For the snake people, rebuilding had been good. It gave their hands something to do, something to focus on instead of the pain. But now, the work was done, and the grief hit harder than any sword. Eli looked around and saw tired eyes, sad faces, silent stares. He thought, we need something. We need light. So he called for a celebration of life. They cooked, they brewed strong beer, they sang songs of old. They told stories that made them laugh, stories of bravery, of foolishness, of love. Eli watched it all with a soft smile. They would survive this, like they had survived so much before. Then he remembered. Daniel, still in the basement, still sick, still alone. Eli waved at a young girl nearby. "Come," he said. "Take food and drink to the basement. Daniel needs it. Tell him I will visit him later tonight. Make sure he eats." She nodded. "Yes, sir." Eli had been sending food each day, but Daniel never opened the door. He always said, "Leave it by the door." No one had seen his face in 3 days. The girl walked with a basket in hand. Steam rose from the food. The drink was warm. The further she went down, the colder it became. The hallway felt narrow. The shadows, alive. Her heart beat louder with each step. She told herself it was just nerves, just the dark. But she knew. Something was wrong. Her hand trembled as she knocked. "Daniel, I brought food. Eli says you should eat. May I come in?" No answer. She waited. The silence crawled up her spine. Then, "Please," Daniel's voice said softly. "Come in." It sounded normal, too normal, but also everywhere, like it came from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. She opened the door slowly. The room was dark, too dark. She took a step inside. You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. "Daniel, where are you?" No answer. She turned her head left, then right. Nothing. Then his voice came again, calm, low, almost kind. "Step into the center of the room. Leave the food there." Her mouth was dry. Her feet moved anyway. Step, step, step. Above her. Daniel watched. His body clung to the ceiling like a shadow. His eyes were wide. His chest heaved. His hunger unbearable. She bent down, placed the food. And then, silence snapped. He dropped. There was a soft thud, then a scream, cut short. Blood hit the wall. The air filled with wet, sucking sounds. Her limbs kicked weakly. Her throat gurgled. Her body shook. But Daniel held her, and he fed. He didn't sip. He devoured. This was not a turning. This was a feast. Her blood was everything he needed, and he took all of it. When he stood up, her body fell like a cloth, dry, pale, empty. Daniel wiped his mouth. He could taste her. His strength had returned. His sight was sharper, his skin cooler. But then he looked at the body, the girl. Her eyes were open, frozen in fear. He stepped back, then stumbled to the wall. No! His hands were red. His lips were red. His chest was rising fast. Did I do this? He looked around the room, looked down at her again, and again. The hunger was gone, but now something else filled him. Guilt, shame, confusion. He sat down, hard, pressed his hand to his chest, then his neck. 2 holes, her gift, Nyokatu. She had done this. She had bitten him. He remembered her whisper. "I can bite you now if you want." He didn't even know if he had said yes, but the bite was there. The curse was real. He wasn't Snake anymore. He had become a monster. He looked back at the girl's body. Tears filled his eyes. He covered his face with his hands, and yet his ears were sharper, his eyes clearer. The shadows no longer frightened him. They welcomed him. Daniel stood. He looked at the door. He had to leave. Now. This place, this castle, this home, it was no longer safe, not for them, not for him. Morning on Snake Island came softly, but under the softness, danger was already awake. Inside the healer's tent, the old oracle lay still. He was breathing, but he did not wake. His hands twitched, his body jerked now and then like it was trying to escape a dream. But his eyes stayed closed. Healers stood around him, whispering prayers, crushing herbs, placing cloths soaked in oils on his head. Asa stepped in quietly. She looked at him, the man who had once told her the names of gods, the signs of the moon, the truths of men. Now he was pale, shaking, silent. "When will he wake?" she asked the lead healer. "We don't know, my queen," the healer said gently. "He hears us, he feels pain, but something is holding him." "Please," Asa whispered, "do not let him die." Her voice cracked. She turned and left. Outside, the village of Snake Island was alive with celebration. Drums were being played, fires were lit, children ran barefoot across the sand. Vusi was back. They called him a miracle, a survivor, a boy reborn. And in the middle of it all stood a girl, tall, proud, with sharp cheekbones and deep eyes. Her name was Nyasha, Asa's daughter. Some said she looked like her late father Ose. Others said she looked like Asa herself. She had grown up with Vusi. Once they had played in the mud together, chased crabs by the river. But now, he stood taller. His shoulders were heavier. His eyes were green now, not just green, glowing like forest fire under glass. She walked up to him. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Vusi turned to her. He stared a little too long. His face smiled, but his eyes did not. "I'm fine," he said. His voice was smooth, but under it something else spoke too, something cold. Nyasha tilted her head. "You sound different." "I'm just tired," he said. She nodded, unsure. She celebrated with the others, but kept looking back at him. From across the crowd, Palesa watched. She didn't come forward. She just stood at the edge of the celebration, her hands shaking. She saw her son. But in her bones, she knew. That was not her boy. But what could she do? She had already lost Vusi's father, then Sia. She could not lose Vusi too, so she stayed silent. That night, the village slept, but one door creaked open. Vusi stepped into the night. He wore no shirt, just dark trousers and silence. His feet made no sound on the stone. He moved like smoke. His eyes did not blink. He knew where to go. The healer's quarters. The oracle was there. The guards outside the cave were asleep, just as he planned. A well-placed sleeping herb in their drinks had sent them into dream. He stepped inside. The fire was low. Herbs boiled in clay bowls. The room smelled of salt and root. And there, on the stone slab, lay the oracle. Still, weak, but alive. The moment Vusi stepped in, the oracle twitched hard. His eyes opened, his pupils were wide with fear. He looked up and saw his worst nightmare. Vusi. No, not Vusi. The thing wearing Vusi. The oracle gasped. His hands shook as he tried to push himself up. "No, no, you came through." Vusi stood over him, face calm. His voice was soft. "I have to do this," the oracle whimpered. "Please, don't." "There can't be any witnesses," Vusi said. "No one to tell stories about what I really am." He reached for the blanket beside the oracle's head. "This is my chance at life. I've waited for a body for a long time." The oracle's mouth opened to scream, but the blanket came down, heavy, firm, silent. The old man struggled, his hands pushed, his legs kicked, his head jerked side to side. Vusi didn't blink. His hands stayed steady. His eyes stared forward, green, unfeeling, full of night. Then the oracle stopped moving. Vusi held the blanket for a moment longer, just to be sure. Then he slowly pulled it away. He breathed out. "That's better." He looked around the room and smiled. This is the beginning of a new day. And far from the cave, in the quiet of her room, Palisa sat awake. She didn't know why, but something inside her told her something terrible had just happened, and her son was the cause. Sundiatu was crouched by the fire pit, crushing dry herbs in a clay bowl. His robes smelled of smoke and wild sage. The sun had barely risen, and the trees around his hut were still draped in morning mist. He didn't hear Zoro approaching, but he felt him. The footsteps were too hard, too sure, too fast. He didn't look up until Zoro stood right in front of him. "Zoro," he said, calm. "It's good to see you." Zoro's jaw tightened. "I wish I could say the same." Sundiatu nodded, as if he expected that. Zoro's eyes were already searching the bowls, the potions, the pouches hanging from the trees around the hut. "You helped her," Zoro said, "without telling me, without asking me. You gave her herbs that opened the path to the river. Why?" Sundiatu stood slowly. "She is a hunter," he said. "She came to me in her own right, with her own request. I treated her the same way I would treat any of you. She is my wife. She is not your prisoner." Zoro stepped closer, his voice low. "You should have told me. And you should have told the council what you've been doing under the water," Sundiatu said. "Mami Wata didn't choose her. She came for you first. Did she not?" Zoro's lips curled. "This has nothing to do with the council. You're a senior hunter, Zoro. You carry more than just your own dreams. You know that. You chose not to tell anyone, not Cabo, not me, not even her. I don't owe you answers. No, but you owe yourself the truth." The words hung in the air like smoke. Zoro exhaled sharply through his nose. Then, "Give me the same herb." Sundiatu blinked. "What?" "The same one you gave Nala. Give it to me. The one that opens the path. The one that lets me see her." Sundiatu stared at him. For a moment, neither of them moved. "I want to make it right," Zoro said. "No," Sundiatu said softly. "You want the dream back. You want to feel it again. Whatever she gave you, whatever she took, you want it back." Zoro's hand twitched by his waist. "Give it to me," he said again. Sundiatu looked at him closely, then turned away. He walked to a woven pouch on the wall and took out a tightly wrapped leaf bundle. "It is the same mix," he said. "Burn it at the river. Say her name. If she wants to come, she will." He handed it over. Zoro took it, fast, like it might disappear. He turned and walked away. Meanwhile, Tendai sat upright in bed, drenched in sweat. The screech had returned, not loud, but piercing, far away but sharp, like a snake dragging its body across dry bones. He turned to Malaika. She was asleep, peaceful. Her belly glowed faintly, just enough to cast a light. Tendai reached out. The moment his fingers touched her skin, he felt heat, warmth like sun on stone, pulsing. His eyes widened. Inside the womb, something shifted. He could feel it. Something with scales, something watching him. His hand snapped back. He stood from the bed, heart pounding. He walked to the small altar in the corner, lit a candle, whispered the names of his mother and grandmother. "Tell me," he begged, "was the curse ever broken?" Behind him, Malaika stirred. "Tendai, are you okay?" she asked softly. Tendai wiped his forehead. "Yes," he said, forcing a smile. "Go back to sleep." But his eyes didn't match his words. He sat by the window, watching the trees sway outside, listening to the sound that only he could hear. The snake was not gone, and the baby was listening too. Kamina stood ready to receive guests. She was calm, but her heart beat with the thrill of curiosity. They had insisted on arriving after sunset, a strange request, but she had granted it. Part of her wanted to see what kind of creature refused the sun. Kwame stood beside her, his posture tense, arms folded behind his back. "You don't trust them," Amina said quietly. Kwame didn't respond at first. I don't know them, he said, but you brought them. I owed a favor, and now I regret it. Before she could answer, the large iron gates creaked open. 4 figures entered. They walked slowly, not because they were unsure, but because they were in no rush. Daniel led them. His skin was pale, his jaw sharp. His eyes, impossibly green, were fixed on Amina. Behind him, 3 others followed, a man and 2 women, beautiful, still, unsmiling. They stopped. Daniel bowed. Queen Amina, he said, voice smooth as smoke, I thank you for receiving us. She extended her hand. Daniel looked at it. I would have shaken your hand, but I do not touch what I do not control. Amina withdrew her hand slowly. She didn't like him, but she was intrigued. Amina inclined her head slightly. You asked for an audience. You have it. He smiled. And what an audience it is. You wear your mother's face well. Her eyes narrowed. You knew my mother? Daniel paused. It was a long time ago, but yes, the black rose was unforgettable. Kwame stepped forward. You've made your introduction. Now speak your purpose. Daniel's eyes flicked to him, then back to Amina. Forgive me, I'm old. In my time, kings and queens gave permission to enter before a guest crossed the threshold. Amina took a moment. Then let me correct that. She looked at them, cool and steady. You may enter, Daniel, you and your kin. Daniel bowed his head again. We are honored. Amina motioned for them to follow her into the throne room. Only then did the 4 of them take one more step forward, deliberate, symbolic. They were now in. Amina motioned for them to sit. They declined. We prefer to stand, for now, Daniel said. We've been seated too long in other places. The line made no sense, or perhaps it meant too much. Very well, she said. You claim to be one of us. I am, Daniel replied. But not only that. What else are you? He smiled but didn't answer. She studied the others. Their faces were expressionless, but their eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. And there was something else. Hunger, not wild or obvious, controlled, like a knife resting on a table, visible but untouched. Ezra, the woman behind him, finally spoke. We've traveled far to meet you, Queen Amina. This land, your rule, it has reached our ears. We thought it time. To do what? Amina asked. To come together, Ezra said softly. To unite. Later that evening, a feast was laid. Plates of roasted meat, fruits, and goblets of spiced wine were brought out, but the visitors touched nothing. We've brought our own wine, Ezra said. They lifted a silver jug and poured a thick, dark liquid into their own goblets. It was almost black. When they drank, something in their faces relaxed. The hunger in their eyes faded. If Amina didn't know better, she would have thought it was blood. She leaned forward. Who are your people? Daniel met her gaze without blinking. We are the Damu Laivu. She tilted her head. And what does that mean? We are born of 2 rivers, one that slithers and one that feeds, venom and hunger, night and flesh. Amina said nothing for a moment. If my mother were here, she said finally, she would have known what to make of you. Daniel's voice turned gentle. She knew. She always knew. If Amina had read the leather-bound volumes the Black Rose left her, she would have known. The Damu Laivu were an old warning, a lineage of snake people who had merged with the old blood, the forbidden one, vampiric, cold, eternal. They did not come in peace. They came to claim. But Amina hadn't had time to read, and the one person who could have warned her, Lunga, was far away on a mission. By the time anyone would realize what Daniel truly was, it might be too late. The Damu Laivu had been invited in, and only the gods knew what would happen next. The skies above the centaur kingdom had turned a dull silver. No rain, no sun, just stillness. the kind of stillness that made the animals quiet and the trees lean in. Something was brewing. Tharion stood on the royal balcony, his arms crossed behind his back. Below, his people moved like ghosts. No laughter, no songs, only worn hooves and hollow eyes. He had done everything right. He had made the sacred trade. He had opened the grain stores. He had addressed them with humility. But still, the air was heavy with something unsaid. They had met under the cover of night, deep in the old forest, where even the wind held its breath. 15 centaurs, warriors, elders, scholars, and healers, all of them respected, all of them once loyal. At the head of the circle stood General Lorimar, scarred from war, but sharp-eyed. Beside him was Elder Saluni, soft-spoken, wise, and dangerously persuasive. And then there was Varanor, the king's right-hand man. He had said very little that night, but what he said carried the heaviest weight. The king's heart is pure, but purity does not feed our children. It does not bring back clean water. A good man can still be a broken king. And that was all it took. The meeting ended with nods, not loud agreements, not vows of war, just nods. They would each return to their districts. They would plant seeds. The rebellion would not come with fire. It would come with whispers. In the villages, scouts disguised as traders leaned over market stalls. "You know, the grain we're getting isn't even fresh. They're feeding us rot." Mothers repeated things their sisters had heard. Children asked why their king looked so tired. A merchant woman shouted in the square, "We sacrificed our future, and for what?" Then one day, at the Tavern of Crooked Hooves, which sat just beyond the eastern gate, with old beams, sticky floors, and enough ale to blur memory, a bard stood on the low wooden table near the fire pit, a crooked smile beneath a dark hood. He plucked at a lute. Then he sang.
They say we had a lion once, with claws and teeth and pride. But now he purrs beneath her skirts and licks her where she lies. She rides him hard in silken sheets while we sleep cold and dry. He gave her grain to feed her mouth and left the rest to die.
No balls, the king's got none. He lost them between the queen's thighs. She moans, he kneels and calls it fate, while locusts chew through every blade.
She screams at maids and calls it grief, but wears her sadness like gold, with honey dripping between her thighs, too sweet for him to hold. He bends when she just parts her lips. He weeps when she's in pain, but he never cried for dying sons or for the blood-stained grave.
No balls, the king's been clipped. The queen keeps them tied on her royal hip. He fights for love, not for the land, with shaking knees and trembling hands. Was meant for sacrifice to seal the curse away, but she cried once, and that was that. He gave the gift away. She gets her way with screams and wine. We get dirt and death, and every time she shakes her hips, he gives away our breath. No balls, the fool wears silk. He drinks her sighs like mother's milk. A queen with venom, a king with none. So sing it loud till justice comes.
So pour another, sing it raw. Let every village hear. A song can slice like sharpened steel and drag a king to his knees.
At first the room was silent, stunned, but then someone in the back snorted. Then another laughed bitterly, and soon the chorus was being shouted by dozens of voices, slurred and furious. No one remembered who the bard was, no one saw him leave, but the song lingered long after he was gone. By morning it would spread to everyone. Meanwhile, in the palace, a servant stood just outside the throne room, pale and trembling. He had overheard the melody from a kitchen boy who had returned from the tavern, wide-eyed. He tried to tell Varashka. She threw a goblet at his head. "They will not sing when their tongues are cut," she hissed, her eyes wide with something too wild to name. But the song had already escaped the gates. It now belonged to the people. Meanwhile, Varunor sat beside Tharion's bedchamber one evening, gently grinding herbs into powder. "You need sleep, my king," he said, pouring the powder into warm tea. "I've been dreaming strange things," Tharion admitted, sipping it. "That is your burden speaking," Varunor said. "Let me carry some of it for you." Every night, the tea grew darker. Every night, Tharion's thoughts became slower. He stopped attending council meetings. He spoke less to Varashka, who had her own madness to tend. She no longer walked among the people. She would stand on the balcony in embroidered gowns and throw old bread to the crowd below. "Be grateful," she once shouted. "You wanted grain, there it is. Eat it like the pigs you are." Her laughter echoed off the castle walls. Some children cried, some elders cursed under their breath, but no one dared throw the bread back. Varashka had become a symbol, not of power, but of how far the royals had fallen from the people. Varunor, in his private chamber, wrote in his journal, "The plan is working. Soon the people will beg for a new leader, and when they do, I will not refuse them." Outside, the wind finally began to howl. The kingdom did not know it yet, but their king was already lost. The long wooden table was filled with roasted meat, fried roots, and bowls of steaming maize. Laughter echoed through the evening air as the hunters shared stories from the past. Jengo sat beside Nandi, their hands brushing now and then. Tatenda poured drinks, and even Nala, fully healed, was smiling again. She hadn't smiled in weeks. Diallo didn't speak much, but his laugh was gentle and honest. Nandi had let him back in. It felt good to be back. "I can't believe you told the elder his fly was open during his sermon," Nandi chuckled. "Better me than the wind," Jengo replied, and the whole table broke into laughter. But Jengo stopped laughing. He cleared his throat. The table fell silent. He looked around, then his eyes settled on Nala. "Has anyone seen Samuel?" Nala froze. She swallowed and looked down at her plate. Jengo's voice was calm, but sharp. "I haven't seen him in days. Has he gone somewhere?" "I haven't checked," Nala said quickly. "I've been here." Jengo nodded. That was true, but something was still off. "He didn't tell me he was leaving, and his keycard scanned him out 3 nights ago." Nandi shrugged. "Maybe he needed space. You know how hot-headed he can be." "He never leaves without a word," Jengo replied. "Especially not to me. Especially not now." Diallo shifted in his seat. "I'm sure he'll show up." "If you'd like," Diallo said, leaning forward, "I could organize a search, just to put your mind at ease." Jengo looked at him, studied him. "Thank you, Diallo. I couldn't entrust this to a better man." Diallo nodded, but his hands were clenched beneath the table. Nala didn't look at anyone. She kept her eyes on her food, her fork unmoving. Across the table, Diallo gave Nandi a look, quick, controlled. But Tendai saw it, and he didn't forget it. He watched his mother and his uncle as they laughed a little too loudly. He wanted to know their secret, but maybe not tonight. Next to him, Malia laughed at something Jengo said. She looked at ease, as if she belonged. And maybe she did. Everyone treated her like she was part of the family already, like this had all been decided without. His date with Malia had gone well. It was an apology date. Nothing more. Yet here she was, a constant at his side. Tendai smiled, but something tugged at his mind. Something wasn't right. He looked around the table. Too much laughter, too many forced smiles. Meanwhile, in the forest, under the deep canopy of trees, the forest held its breath. A dog sniffed along a quiet path. It had wandered from its owner, chasing a scent only it could smell. Its paws worked furiously at the earth, dirt flying behind it as it growled with a strange excitement. "What are you digging, little buddy?" the man asked, amused as he approached. The hole was already deep, deeper than he expected. His smile widened. Maybe it found something, he thought. An old bone, a buried trinket, something of value. He knelt beside the dog and brushed away the loose soil. Then he froze. A hand lay exposed in the earth, grey, swollen, the skin peeling from the bone. Dead, reaching upward. The man gasped, stumbling back as his heart slammed against his chest. The dog barked once, sharp and frantic. With shaking fingers, the man reached for his phone. Because, my dear Savanians, in the savannah, secrets never stay buried for long. And that, my dear Savanians, brings us to the end of yet another episode in our Snake People vs. Hunters saga. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did in this week's episode. We return after the great battle as the Snake People try to rebuild, only to learn that some wounds never fade. In the shadows of a castle, Daniel's transformation reaches a terrifying point. After Nyokatu's bite last season, the hunger takes control. A life is lost, and Daniel flees, stepping fully into darkness. Elsewhere in time on Snake Island, danger grows quietly. Vusi returns as a miracle, but not as himself. The Oracle, the one man who could reveal the truth, is silenced. A witness is eliminated, and Palesa is left with a mother's fear, knowing her son is no longer her son. Among the hunters, cracks begin to show. Tendai struggles with who and what he truly is as the curse stirs again, now touching the next generation. Zoro, driven by unfinished business, heads to the river, hoping Mami Wata will answer his call, if she chooses to see him at all. Far away in Centaur land, rebellion is no longer whispered, it is sung. A dangerous song spreads, mocking the throne and stirring unrest, because songs like these don't just entertain, they start wars, and in the present day, Daniel returns, not as a fugitive, but as a leader, vampiric, ancient, invited in. The question is no longer what he is, but what he truly wants. As always, what is hidden never stays buried. A dog uncovers Samuel's body, and with it, a secret that could destroy Diallo and Nandi forever. What comes next? We'll just have to wait and see. Until then, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. To those of you who have already joined the tribe, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are truly the heartbeat of this channel. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.